Hello, hello, hello. Today we are going to be talking about girls in STEM, focusing on the area of civil engineering. And we are going to be talking to Margaret Briegmann here today. So, joining us today is Margaret Briegmann, civil engineer, educator, city builder with over 20 years of experience shaping how our communities in Toronto and Ottawa develop and grow. Margaret is a principal engineer at a leading transportation firm where she leads teams, designs transit, public spaces across the GTA and Ottawa. Her work spans from everything from schools, hospital to parks and sports arena. So we are talking to the right person today. She served on advisory panels, collaborating on some of Toronto's most iconic spaces like Massey Harris Park, historic Fort York, and she's been shaping minds as an educator in engineering for years. So please welcome the brilliant, dynamic, inspiring, and multifaceted Margaret Briegmann.
Thanks, Veronica. That's such a nice introduction. That was lovely.
That is you. I'm really cognizant of your time here today. So I really want to get to it. And I know a lot of young girls out there want to be engineers, but aren't really quite sure what that is. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what exactly is engineering.
Sure. Engineering is the science of how things work. And there's different types of engineers, different types of engineering. There's computer engineers, mechanical engineers, environmental engineers, aerospace engineers, and civil engineers. I am a civil engineer, and civil engineering is the science of city systems, roads, pipes, and buildings, things like that. And my area of expertise within civil engineering is even more focused. It's on transportation engineering. So, for example, when a new community is built or is being planned, I analyze and design the transportation systems that will connect that community to other communities. So I design things like sidewalks and bicycle lanes and roads and connections to transit and anything that helps people travel and move around the city. For all engineers, no matter our area of expertise, our primary goal and responsibility is to protect the public. So when we graduate from a university program in engineering, we take an oath to serve the public, to serve and protect the public. And after graduating, we actually receive a ring that we wear on our pinky finger.
Mm.
I don't know if you can see it here. It's
Mhm,
an iron ring
mhm.
that we wear on the pinky finger of our working hand to remind us of that responsibility to serve and protect the public. It symbolizes our professional commitment to standards and ethics. And after several years of experience, we can apply for a license to become a professional engineer. And that's why you see the letters PEng after my last name, after my name. That stands for professional engineer.
Wow, wow. So, are there some jobs that you could just kind of throw out that a girl might think, okay, yeah, I might be able to do that?
Well, engineers can work in different places. So, for example, a civil engineer can work for the city that they live in and be an engineer working for the city at City Hall, or they can work for a private consulting firm like I do and be hired by clients such as other city builders, developers, to work with them to plan projects, or they can teach. Some engineers teach. And I work for a private firm in consulting where I do this type of work for the developers, but I also teach at a school that has an engineering program.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a broad field. I know I was talking to a lady the other day, and she had worked in plastics. And she said, "Oh yeah, I'm an engineer." And she had been working. I don't know exactly what she was doing, but the company that I was with was plastics. They created plastics for everything, really. So there's so many areas that you can get involved. I mean, I was speaking to somebody the other day, and they were in the space field. So you could be
Right.
doing designing things and projects in aerospace, aerodynamics, all of those kinds of things. So it's a very broad field, I guess. So my question is, did
Right.
you always know you wanted to be an engineer, or did that passion grow later?
I always knew I was interested in how things were built. So when I was very little, I liked to play with Lego. I liked looking at maps and drawing buildings and things like that. I didn't know about engineering and that I could be an engineer until I was in high school, and my high school physics teacher introduced me or invited a young woman who was a civil engineer to speak to our class.
Mm.
And he introduced me to her. And when I heard her speak, that was the first time I realized that what I was interested in, I could actually do as a job when I grew up, when I got older. And it was through meeting her and hearing about her work that I realized my interests that I had my whole childhood could turn into a career.
Wow. So I guess what you're saying there is that role models are really, really important.
Yes, all kinds of role models.
Mm,
Your teachers are your role models, people you get introduced to are your role models, and even your friends in a way are sometimes your role models, your
mm,
peers.
mm. So my sense of engineering is it's a pretty male-dominated field. What challenges did you face in school or in your career, when you decided that that was the direction that you were going to go, and how did you kind of fit in and navigate all of that?
It is a male-dominated field. It was male-dominated when I started. There was only about 5 girls out of about 100 in my engineering class, and it still is a male-dominated field.
But it's changing.
It's changing.
Mm,
It's changing very quickly. And the way that I navigated that was working with my mentors. Again, it comes back to my mentors a little bit. I learned to be really good at what I do, and that's how I gained confidence. And I couldn't have done that without my mentors, both in school, the types of mentors I have already mentioned, but
mm.
also the mentors that I met through my work when I got my first job in engineering, the people that I worked with, watching how they work, how they handle situations, how they solve problems was very important for me. So the more confidence I gained and the better I got at my job, I felt like I fit in more.
So really focusing on the work and kind of not letting any of the other stuff kind of interfere is pretty much what you're saying, and connecting to people. Having a support system is very much important as well.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what advice would you give to the 10-year-old little girl, your 10-year-old self?
I wish I could do that. I wish I could go back in time and tell my 10-year-old self that no matter what, that I'm capable and that no matter what happens, I can figure it out.
Mm,
I wish I knew, well, I learned very slowly that following my gut would take me to amazing places. So what that means is sometimes like I went into engineering when it wasn't a very popular thing for girls to do, and my friends were doing things that sounded maybe more fun, like they were going into art or studying English, which are great subjects. But what I wanted to do was a little different. So following my gut and doing it despite the fact that maybe other people weren't doing it or maybe it wasn't very popular, that turned out to be the best thing for me because I ended up in a very successful and satisfying career. And I wouldn't have done that unless I followed my gut. And I learned that slowly. So I wish I could have told my 10-year-old self that I'm capable and I should follow my gut and it's going to turn out great.
So listening to that inner voice
That's right.
and, just paying attention to that. And even if everybody else is doing something different, your voice is telling you, no, this is the road to take. This is the way to go. Yeah. And just, so I guess sometimes it's like, oh, you stand apart from everybody else, but inside of you that that's what's the right thing for you.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, if I was answering that question, it would be to stick with math because that was something that I struggled with as a little girl. Well, I wouldn't say I was a little girl, but when I was 15, I came to Canada from England. It's just a very short story. And just the background is that England at the time didn't have a lot of math teachers. So I
Hmm.
did not get the math fundamentals. So I struggled when I got to grade 11. Grade 11 math was like a mountain for me to climb. And I failed. I failed my first math test. I got 19% on that test, and that was because I copied somebody else's exam, which you're not supposed to do. But I failed anyway. So then I went to summer school and I failed at summer school and I had tutoring. And I think what happens when you're struggling with a subject is you become anxious about it. So as well as
Right.
failing, there was anxiety on top of that. And it was such a trauma for me that my grand aunt from the United States came and she prayed over me and brought in the angels and the saints and the ancestors and prayed over me. Everybody got involved in me and this my struggles with math. But the third time I did it, I actually did very well. Well, what I deemed to be very well, considering that I had failed it. I got 96% on my geometry math test. And when you
Wow.
ask me today, like, what are some of your major achievements in life? Passing that math test is one of them because it really built my confidence. And I did end up passing math, third time lucky. I think I got about 76% that year, which is a B minus, a C plus. I'll take it, given that I had failed before. But the message that I want to get across is to stick with it for those people
Right.
who are struggling. And a lot of people do struggle with math and the sciences, is to stick with it. I didn't stick with it. I wish I had, looking back, because it opens up a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities. So that's the advice that I would give my 10-year-old self. So I just
Right.
wanted to throw that in there.
Well, that's a good story. You did stick with it. Eventually, you did so great on that test, on that final test. You did stick with it. Something inside you was telling you that you could do it. So you kept going.
And I actually ended up enjoying math.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, stick with math and science because it really does open up a lot of doors, opportunities. Because a lot of times we don't know really what we want to do 10, 11, 12. So, you want to keep all of your options open. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, that was me. Let's get back to you. What's one project that you've worked on that you're the most proud of, and how do you feel it makes the world a better place or the city a better place?
That's a tough question. It's hard to pick just one project. I'm proud of all the projects that I work on because I'm really proud of contributing to city building. So even the smallest projects, when they contribute to city building, I'm really proud of that. But if I had to pick one, well, first of all, I work on different types of projects too. So residential projects, like residential buildings, like apartment buildings, commercial projects, which are things like retail shopping malls, and institutional projects like hospitals and sports arenas. So if I had to pick one, just as an example, a project that I'm proud of is I would pick the projects that I've done for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment on our
Wow.
sports arenas in the
Wow.
city of Toronto, because I I like I'm proud of the fact that I contributed to the success of our basketball, hockey, and baseball teams because I worked on the spaces where they play their sports.
Yeah, yeah. You can go in there and you can say, yeah, I'm a part of this. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure you must look
Yeah,
around and think, oh,
it's
yeah,
fun.
I did say something about that. And look, they did it.
Right.
Yeah. So
It's
that's
really
great.
fun.
Yeah, that's a good experience. So, in terms of engineering, and I think engineering is everywhere, but for girls or little girls, how does it connect to things girls might already love, like design, creativity, the environment, or even helping people? I mean, you've kind of touched on it, but maybe a little bit more specific. What specific things could girls say, oh yeah, that's engineering.
Well, building communities carries with it a lot of responsibility to the public. I already talked about that, but it also carries with it responsibility to the environment. So
Mm,
if girls are interested in having a lasting impact, engineering is something they might be interested in. And also, engineering is a very creative field. You need to be creative to design and build communities. So if you're interested in applying creativity to real life problems, engineering might also be for you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that every day in my job is different. Some days I'm in the field and I'm wearing protective gear like a hard hat and protective boots, steel-toed boots, doing inspections and taking measurements. and things like that. And other days I'm in the office working independently, doing analysis or preparing a report. Other days I'm managing a team of engineers and reviewing the work that they did and mentoring people.
Mm.
And then other days I'm meeting with clients either virtually or in person. And I might be at City Hall speaking to City Council or at a community hall speaking to the public. So every day is different. If you're interested in a career that where every day is different, engineering might be for you.
And also a career that evokes a lot of skills. So there's problem solving skills, design, creativity, public speaking. It sounds as if there's a lot of skills in there that you use.
Right. You get to develop those skills over
Mm.
time and you get to use them.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Yes.
it's interesting and it sounds like it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. I love my job a lot. I never get the Sunday scaries. On Mondays, I'm usually excited to go back into the office and work on the projects that I'm working on, and I have a lot of fun.
Yeah, wow, yeah. So, advice for girls, what skills or habits helped you the most when you were starting out?
Being brave to ask questions when I didn't understand something was very important. And sometimes doing that is hard because you have to admit you don't know something to ask a question. So you have to be a little bit brave. So that really helps me. And also, like I said, I had really good mentors. And in my career, when I started my career, those mentors were either my project managers or my friends. And I would pay attention to how they solve problems or how they would teach something or how they would manage their work schedule. So having mentors that I could go to when I had questions was really important to me.
So, you talked about being brave and you also talked about following your gut. I think that also means that girls have to kind of speak up, know that they have a voice, and know that they can express themselves and,
That's right.
kind of work on that because a lot of our girls are, we tend to be kind of quiet and don't think that we have an opinion on things. But I think what you're saying is it's good to have that and to have that presence and to have that voice and to be able and know yourself a little bit and stand up for yourself a little bit.
That's right. But it's not easy to do. It's
Mm,
important, but it's
mm,
not easy to do. So you can start just by practicing little by little
okay,
until you get
okay,
better.
okay. And so for parents, like what role did your family play in supporting your engineering journey and what can parents do?
Well, my parents never told me I couldn't do it. That was
Mm,
that was sort of the magic with my parents. But I think it's important for girls to see people like themselves in the field of engineering or any field they're interested in. So meeting engineers was really important. Talking to my teachers about engineering was really important. Yeah, that was key for me. Having that encouragement from others was really important. And my parents just basically said, go for it.
okay, good. So, and where do you see the biggest opportunities, like for the future in terms of Ontario? There's a lot happening in Ontario within the next 10 years. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for women in engineering in the next 10 years?
Well, engineering and technology is always changing.
Mm,
Engineering was different when I started compared to now, and compared to how it will be by the time I retire, because science and technology is always changing, and the world is always changing. So there's lots of opportunities for young people to get involved, and I'm excited and I'm hopeful for a future when engineers, lawmakers, and politicians come together to solve climate issues that we
mm,
face
mm,
to change the course of history. So that means there's a real opportunity for anyone who's interested in those issues to get involved and have a real impact on these things.
mm. And if you could share one message with every young girl about her place in science, technology, engineering, maths, economics, what would it be?
I would say if you're interested in engineering, you can do it. You can learn the skills that are needed. And cities are better when a variety of people from different backgrounds are building them. The work that civil engineers do in particular influences our environments. So, for example, when we're designing transportation systems, it's important to have different perspectives and different points of view so that we build transportation systems that meet the needs of all citizens, those that walk or cycle or drive, that have different needs and abilities and different ways of living and working. And this is done best when we have kids from different backgrounds contributing to that, studying engineering and practicing as engineers with a common goal ultimately to protect the public and build livable cities.
So there's a space for everybody. Everybody has a voice, and we need everybody's
And we
voice.
need everybody, yes.
Yeah, male, female, we need it doesn't it's not just one group of people is really what you're saying. And this is a growing field is what I'm hearing you say, and there are lots of opportunities. You've talked about being a civil engineer working building cities, but there's so much more in the engineering field and so many opportunities out there for girls. And I think that's the message that you're trying to get across, and I think we're on the same page with that.
Yes, there's a lots of opportunities and a lot of need. We need young women to contribute to the work that we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Margaret, any last words? I really know that your time is important. So, but is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap up?
Well, Veronica, thank you. That was really fun. I really love talking about my work
Mm.
because I love what I do. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that.
Well, I want to thank you as well because I think this is a message that young people need to hear, not only young girls, but I mean, I'm doing this directly for young girls, but I think everybody needs to hear, young person needs to hear this message that this is a field that has lots of opportunities and voices, and people can make a living, but also contribute and make a difference. And that's so important.
Right. And have
So
fun while doing it.
absolutely. And
Yes.
so thank you very much for hanging out with us today. And yeah, it's really great to have you here.
Thanks, Veronica.
All right. That was a conversation with civil engineer Margaret Briegmann. And this lady has been in the business of engineering for over 20 years. And she came to us today to give us her advice and her expertise on field of engineering and how much opportunity there is for young girls over the next 10, 15 years. So hoping that those girls who want to know more about engineering, you got something from this discussion today. So I'm Veronica Hislop of Empowered Solutions and coming to you today talking about the topic of girls in STEM, encouraging girls in STEM through empowerment and talking about engineering. So hopefully you got something from that. Take care.